If you're a roofing contractor and you've been thinking about scaling into the multifamily space or growing your company through serving property management relationships, there's one thing that will stop you faster than the lack of talent, the lack of opportunity, or even the lack of leads. It's what I call the familiar mess. The familiar mess is where a lot of really good contractors live for years without realizing that they're even living there. They got big goals, big dreams, big aspirations. They want to build something substantial. They want reoccurring revenue. They want to get out of the cycle of constantly chasing that next job. They want more stability. They want better clients. They want a stronger team. They want a business that actually scales. But even with all of that ambition, they don't have a clear path of how to get there. And because they don't have that clear path, they keep getting pulled into whatever is the loudest, the fastest, and the easier in that moment. It's what I call the familiar mess. It's not their fault. A lot of guys in this business were taught how to sell, how to hustle, how to produce, and how to survive. But they were really never taught how to build with intention. So what happens? They say they want long-term growth, but they keep getting distracted by short-term movements. If there's a storm in the market, if it's the next hailstorm, it's the next wind event, it's the next insurance opportunity, it's the next spike in quick revenue. And listen, I'm not saying that storm work is bad. I'm just saying that sometimes fast revenue can be bad. I'm not saying that hunting is bad. But what I am saying is that if you keep living off of what is urgent, you'll never build what's important. It's a trap. A lot of roofing contractors say they want recurring revenue, but their business model is still built around reaction. They say they want consistency, but their systems are inconsistent. They say they want to scale, but what they really have is motion without direction. And that becomes a huge problem when they start looking into the multifamily space, because the multifamily space does not reward chaos for very long. It's going to let you in the door, but it won't let you stay if you're disorganized, if you're reactive, if you're vague, if you're inconsistent. That's why I talk about there's a huge difference between hunting and farming. Hunting put meat on the table today, and that matters, because if your farm is not built yet, you better keep hunting. You have to. You got payroll, you got overhead, you got families depending on your organization, on your company. And yes, sometimes you have to go and kill what's in front of you and bring it and put it on the table. That's real life. But if all you ever do is hunt, you can never truly scale the business. You can only increase output by increasing hunters. That model's got a ceiling. At some point, you're going to hit the wall, because hunting is dependent on effort, opportunity, and timing. Farming's different. Farming requires intention. It requires process. It requires consistency. It requires patience. You plant, you water, you protect, you repeat. And for a while, it does not look nearly as exciting or sexy as hunting. It's why a lot of contractors abandon it too early. They want the farm, but they do not stay consistent long enough to let that farm actually mature and produce. And in the multifamily space is one of the best examples of that, because serving property managers is not only about doing more jobs, it's about building a repeatable process and relationship that comes from that process. It's about becoming the company they trust over and over and over. It's about becoming dependable in an environment where consistency matters a heck of a lot more than charisma. And that's where a lot of contractors get exposed, because in the multifamily space, it reveals your drift. I think about it like a 1 degree rule. I'm not sure if you guys have heard this or not, but if a plane is off by more than 1 degree, it may not look like much in the beginning, but for every single hour that plane flies, it misses its destination by 60 nautical miles per hour. And that's only a 1 degree difference from its intended target. And that darn plane's got pilots, GPS, and all the computers with autopilot, all that. And in business, especially in multifamily, small misalignments become major misses over time. A lack of clarity in communication, a lack of inconsistency in service, a little confusion of the scope, a little weakness in your documentation, a little delay in your follow up, a little uncertainty in your expectations. None of those things look huge by themselves, but stack them up over time, and now the client doesn't trust you. The team gets frustrated, the account gets messy, the work becomes reactive, the margins get thinner, and your company wonders why scaling feels harder than it should. There's a deeper issue, and some contractors are not just off by 1 degree. Some of them never have actually defined the destination in the first place. I hear things like this all the time. We want to grow from 7 million to 10 million. Awesome. That's a great financial number. But that's not a plan. That's not a growth plan, because the real question is not how much revenue do you want? The real question is, what kind of revenue? From whom? How often? What services? At what margins? On what roof systems? Through repairs, through maintenance, through restoration, through replacement? How many projects? At what average ticket? With what kind of team? With what kind of communication? With what kind of operational rhythm? There's a difference between hoping you're going to get somewhere and designing that destination. And if you don't design the destination, the familiar mess will design it for you. You'll wake up one day with a business full of activity, but no intentional architecture behind it. Now, when it comes to multifamily, I want to make something super clear. There is not one right way to enter this space. Some contractors get into multifamily because they want more repair work. Some of them, they want more maintenance work. Some, they want more restoration projects on flat roofs. Some, they want more replacement projects. There are different entry points. And I'm not here to tell you there is only one acceptable path. What I'm saying is that there's some paths that are more consistent than others, and some create better long-term outcomes than others. But the biggest mistake is not choosing the wrong entry point. The biggest mistake is not having long enough term vision for what you're actually trying to build once you get in. That's where another farming analogy comes to mind. Not every crop grows the same way. Some things come up fast. Like, you can plant cilantro, it's ready in 11 days. It's ready a heck of a lot sooner than a fruit tree. And in business, some opportunities in multifamily work just like that. They're quick turn opportunities, useful, valuable, but short cycle. Then you have other opportunities that are more like the fruit trees. They take longer to establish, require a heck of a lot more patience, more trust, more consistency, more long-term thinking. But once they're established, they produce for years or decades. This is how contractors should think about the multifamily space. Some of it, the work is annual. Some of the work is perennial. Like, if you think about cilantro versus a fruit tree. Some revenue behaves like tomatoes and jalapenos. Some revenue behaves like apple trees and peach trees. They both matter. They both have a place. But a lot of contractors, they stay stuck because they keep saying they want the perennial scale while building an annual business. They keep saying they want long-term reoccurring relationships, but they keep operating with that short-term vision. And that short-term vision keeps you trapped in the familiar mess, because when the vision is too short, you're always making decisions for relief instead of decisions for scale. You chase what solves today. You avoid the work that builds for tomorrow. You confuse urgency with strategy, and long before your business is busy, but it's not becoming more stable, and that happens. That's why unorganized service becomes such a major barrier in the multifamily space, because multifamily clients, especially property managers, they don't just need someone who can put a roof on. They need someone who can actually communicate with them, someone who can document clearly, someone who can respond clearly, someone who can stay organized, someone who can be consistent across time, property, people, and problems. They need trust at scale, and trust at scale does not come from random effort, it comes from repeatable execution. So, if you're a roofing contractor considering scaling your company by serving property managers, I want to say this as clear as I can. The biggest barrier is probably not opportunities. It's probably not even market demand. It's probably not even your ability to perform work because you're probably amazing at your trade. The biggest barrier is whether you are willing to get out of the familiar mess and build something with intention. Can you define the destination clearly? Can you decide what kind of farm you're building? Can you stay consistent long enough for the farm to produce? And can you stop getting pulled away every single time the lady in the red dress walks by you? Can you resist the shiny object long enough to build something that actually feeds the business for years? Because until you do that, you just keep hunting and calling it scaling. And for those things, they're not the same. Real scale happens when the business begins to produce what it was intentionally built and designed to do. That's when the service division starts to really make sense. That's when reoccurring work becomes real. That's when the team grows with confidence. That's when property managers begin to see you not just as another vendor, but an operating partner, a true operating partner. And that's when the company starts moving from survival mode into something much, much more powerful. So if you're looking at the multifamily space, don't just ask yourself how you get more work. Ask yourself, what kind of business are you trying to become? Don't ask yourself if you can make money this month, but ask what can actually make you trustworthy, repeatable, and scalable over the next 5 to 10 years. Because once that farm starts producing, everything changes. You're no longer chasing revenue. You're building a division that can grow and scale, a team that can grow, relationships that can grow, a company that's got structure to carry that growth. There's a massive difference. That's the opportunity. And that's why the familiar mess of unorganized service is one of the biggest barriers to actually growing a service division inside the multifamily space. So if this message hit home for you and you're trying to figure out how to build a roofing company that property managers actually trust long-term, drop a comment below. Tell me what part of your business feels most disorganized right now. And if you're serious about building a service division with real recurring revenue, real structure, real long-term scalability, reach out. Because the goal is not just to work harder. The goal is to build something that's going to finally work for you. Hope you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon. Take care.